So I want to make this video today so that people can understand me better as a person. But I wanted to make this video so that people understand me better as a person, and also just to understand a few things about the topic that I'm going to talk about. And I'm not making this video because I want attention or because I want people to feel sorry for me. The reason that I don't talk about this is because I'm worried that people are going to treat me differently. I'm worried that people will be nicer to me or feel sorry for me or anything like that. I want people to know me for who I am, not because of my illness. This is a topic that I find difficult to talk about, so I'll try not to get emotional in this video, but I want this to be more informative than anything else. So for those of you who don't know, I have MS, or multiple sclerosis as it actually stands for. And it feels really weird saying that because I don't talk about it. Like I said, I don't want people to think of me any different from how they might have perceived me before they knew. So this video was just for everyone to watch. Hopefully you learn something and you understand me as a person a little bit better. So I'm just gonna start by telling a little bit about my story. So I was 14, I think, maybe 15, I don't really remember, and one night I was playing The Sims, actually, of all things, on my computer, on my laptop, and I started to feel like this weird feeling like in these two fingers. I didn't really think anything of it. I was like, oh, my hand feels like a bit weird. I thought maybe I'd just been on my computer for too long because I was young and I was playing The Sims, and that's obviously like a big deal and took up like a lot of my time. And I didn't really think anything of it. I then woke up the next day and it wasn't just my fingers, it was my whole hand, it was my arm, it was like the whole right side of my body felt like it had this weakness. I would try and pick something up and it's just like I was asking my brain to pick something up and it just struggled so much. It was like such an effort for me to pick something up. Like it was really hard to like brush my teeth because it just felt so weak, and it wasn't a good experience. But so we went to the doctor and I went to the hospital and they said, oh well, they did some tests. They like took some bloods and I did like an MRI scan and they were like, oh, it looks like you've maybe had like a mini stroke, which was like a big deal. Obviously I was really young. I was like, how is that possible? And bearing in mind, when I was in the hospital, I was put in like the stroke ward in the adult hospital where there's loads of people who are obviously much older than I am, you know, very elderly people who had obviously had quite severe strokes, and a lot of them were unable to speak or to eat. And I remember being in that ward in the hospital and thinking, what if this is me? Like, what if I'm so young and that's gonna be me like next week? And I know that seems crazy, but I was so young and I didn't really understand how everything worked. And I was really panicking. I was really like upset and I didn't really know what to think. So they did like a lumbar puncture. I don't know if anyone's ever had one of those, but it's basically we put like a big giant needle in your spine. It's very painful. They take your brain fluid. It like knocks you out for a couple of weeks because it really, I don't know how it all works, but like messes with all your things. And like every time I sat up or stood up, I would get a really bad headache. I had to lie down for like 2 weeks. I couldn't lift my head off the pillow because it was so painful. And that showed that I had some inflammation on my brain, or my brain fluid. Again, I don't really remember, it was so long ago. I am like 22 now, in case you're wondering, so that was like a long time ago. And then so they put me on like a high dose of steroids. At the time I had like a phobia of swallowing tablets. I don't know why. I just did, to add to the whole situation. So they're like, we want you to take all these steroids like via tablet. But I couldn't swallow them, so I had to go in every day. I had like a cannula, is it like a cannula thing they put in your arm, and they like hooked me up and put it in like through a drip. I went there for like a few days, and the steroids made me like super hungry. And it's not the same type of steroids that like people who work out use. It's like medical to help your body like heal faster. So I had that, and I was starting to feel like a bit better, like I was getting my strength back. You know, I went to the doctor and they would measure like how strong I could like grip things, and you know, they would test like my reflexes, and I was like improving, so I was starting to feel better. And this was around like Christmas, New Year time. Oh, I just knocked my tripod. This was around like Christmas, New Year time, so like there wasn't that many doctors in the hospital. Good old NHS. And then I started to notice that every time I looked to the left, it's like my right eye wouldn't follow. So I basically had double vision, because unless I was looking straight ahead at something, every time I looked slightly any direction, there was like two of everything. It was like everything, the photo just like separated the further I looked to the side. So like if I looked this way, everything would just get further and further apart, and it was really disorienting because I didn't know. It was like hard to tell the difference between what's like the real image and what's like not. So between like still having a bit of weakness and trying to like do things, I felt really like uncoordinated, and I didn't really know what was going on. So I think it was maybe after then they gave me steroids. Maybe I didn't get the steroids after my stroke. I think I maybe got them to help my eye. Again, I don't really, right, it was so long ago. So anyway, whatever, the steroids fixed that, I felt fine. And it's little things in my life that I didn't really notice like related to the illness that I have. So I have always been a tired person, like since, as long as I can remember, like since like when I went to like academy or secondary school, I just, you know, people would be like in class in the morning and I would always be there like yawning, just always yawning, like all the time, and I didn't really think anything of it. Also we used to, like in my school, we would walk, there was like a Morrison's, like a supermarket not far from the school, so we would walk to Morrison's to get like lunch, to like buy like food for lunch, like sandwiches and stuff. And every time, I remember we'd walk to Morrison's and then we'd have to cross at the zebra crossing to actually get to Morrison's. My entire legs from like my hips to my toes would have pins and needles, and I didn't think anything of it. I just thought I was like unfit, like I needed to like do more exercise, because I'd never been good at like PE at school. I was always like uncoordinated and just like not very good at sports. So I was just like, oh, it's just because I like don't do exercise. My friends would go out like cycling or running, and I would always be like, nah, I'm not gonna do that. So I didn't think anything of it. And sometimes I would get this feeling like when I touched my skin, mostly like on my arm, sometimes on my face, that when I like touched it, like even gently, it would feel like I was like dragging my nails down my skin, like it was quite painful. I don't even know why, like I didn't even think anything of it. I was like, oh, whatever, I must just like be having a bad day. But obviously now that I know that all these things are related. So anyway, fast forward a couple of years, I was 16 and I think I'd had trouble like with my eyes again. Oh, by the way, that was called optic neuritis, is when you get like blurry and like double vision, that's what they said it was called. So this has happened like a couple of times by this point. I was 16, I was going for a checkup with a neurologist doctor who I'm not going to name, but I don't think she's very good at her job. Like I'm sure she's very smart, but her people skills maybe leave like a lot to be desired. So basically I go in for this appointment and she doesn't really say very much. She's just talking about like more tests that I'd done, and she just literally hands me a leaflet that says, just diagnosed multiple sclerosis. And I remember looking at it and I was like, so do I have this? And she was just like, yeah. And she went and she just got me some more leaflets and told me she would see me in a year's time. And that was really it. So you can imagine I'm still very young, I'm 16, I'm still at school, I'm like about to do all my exams, and I've just been hit with this bombshell, and I didn't really know much about the illness. And for me personally, maybe other people, my family maybe knew this was like on the cards, but for me it wasn't really something that I thought about. And the first thing that I thought of, because the only thing that I knew about the illness is in my head, all I could think of is people with MS are in wheelchairs, people MS are severely disabled, and that's obviously not the case. Obviously the illness, if you don't know much about it, has a huge spectrum of how it can affect people. It affects everybody in a different way, and there is no cure for it, and there's not really much research into like what causes it, but it's like a neurological disorder, I think is the best way to describe it. Basically your immune system attacks itself. So I get ill pretty easily. I need to wash my hands a lot and careful not to be around people who are ill, because it's pretty easy for me to catch things. But because it's doing this, your body's like fighting itself. I don't know entirely how it works, but the signals between your brain get like mixed up, like they don't always work. So, and it's different every day, and it's different for every people. Most people have like relapsing remitting MS, which is where you'll be absolutely fine, and then one day you wake up and maybe you like can't move your legs, but you recover from that. And it's just, you have like a little, they're called like episodes or relapses, where you just don't do so well, and then like you're fine after a while. And there is like medication and stuff you can take to like prevent the relapses from happening as often, but I have chosen not to take any medication like that, because the side effects are pretty intense, or they can be quite intense. It's not something that I feel like I'm ready for in my life, but I have had like a few episodes, but actually I haven't had an episode in, I think it's like 2 and a bit years now, which is actually amazing. I'm really, really happy about that. You know, I might never have an episode again, I might have one tomorrow, just don't know, and it's like the unknown that's kind of scary about the illness. And the sun has decided to go away, and now my video is gonna look really dark. Oh well. It's like the unknown of the illness, I think, that is the worst thing. Like, you don't know what's gonna happen, and there's not really a lot you can do about it, so you just gotta get on with it. Some days I'll have pins and needles in like my legs all day, or my feet, or when I touch my skin it'll hurt, or like when I brush my hair it'll hurt. Like, because I've had optic neuritis a few times, the vision has never come back fully in my right eye, so that eye is now partially sighted, and I have to live with the fear that if I get optic neuritis in my other eye, I might not be able to drive or see, or like I could like go blind, and that's like a little bit terrifying, and that can kind of be difficult to get your head around. I get a lot of pain in my eye, I'm on like painkillers and stuff for that, so like most of the time it's okay, but the painkillers make me tired. And for anyone who knows anything about MS, fatigue is a massive thing that you have to deal with. It's probably the hardest thing, and it's one of those things that people really don't understand. Some days I just feel physically exhausted, like I feel like I've just worked out at the gym for 3 hours when I've just had 10 hours sleep at night, and it doesn't matter how much sleep I have or how little sleep I have. Some days I just feel like that, and there's nothing I can do about it. I yawn all the time, and people probably think that I'm rude, or I don't know, they probably just think that I'm like lazy, or I don't go to bed early enough, or I sleep too much, but I can't help that. Like, I'm tired like a lot, and that's the hardest thing, and that's why I want to make this video, because I just feel like people don't understand, and I don't want to get emotional, but that's the hardest thing, especially when people don't know much about the illness. When you tell them, they just think, oh, like they either think, oh, she's fine, it can't be that bad, or they think, oh god, that's terrible, and they feel really sorry for you, but they don't understand the day-to-day thing. The hardest thing is being tired, and it's so difficult to get across to people. I physically can't help it. I can't help being so tired. There's nothing I can do about that. So that's the biggest thing. That's why I love having these weird feelings in your body, and the pain, and knowing that I could have like a relapse, and I don't know when that's gonna happen. It's not like you get one every 6 months or one every 6 weeks. It's just whenever your body feels like it. But one thing that has really helped, and one thing that I do want to share, is a couple of years ago I decided to switch to a vegan diet, and I don't want to be this person who tells everyone they have to be vegan to save the planet and the animals, but if you have MS, if you are a young person like me, like I was diagnosed very young, a lot of people aren't diagnosed till they're much older than I am, please consider it, please try it. There's a lot of research into it, and since I've been vegan, touch wood, I haven't had a relapse. I don't have as many days where I struggle to keep my eyes open, and it makes a huge difference to just how I feel. I think because it's also, I eat like a lot healthier because I'm eating a lot more fruit and vegetables because I have to. I'm not just living on chicken nuggets and McDonald's. I have to make sure I cook myself food, and I don't really cook anything unhealthy. And it's made such a big difference. I can't stress that enough, and there is a lot of research into it. So if you ever wonder why I'm vegan, it's not because I'm a crazy person who, you know, wants to, I don't know, people think vegans are crazy, and we're not. I eat vegan for me, for my health, and I don't ask anybody else to do that. Unless you have MS, then I will suggest that you try it. Just try it for like 3 months and try and tell me that you don't feel better. It might not work for you, like it might not work for everyone, but like I said, there's a lot of research and it's made such a big difference to my life. I honestly can't get my head around it. Like, I'm sitting here and I haven't had a relapse in like over 2 years, and that is like incredible. So I'm Claire, I'm 22, I have MS. I was diagnosed when I was 16. No, I'm not in a wheelchair every day of my life. No, I'm not super disabled, but that doesn't mean that there aren't people with MS who are not. But please just take from this video that sometimes you don't know people's story. Sometimes people are living with an invisible illness, whether that's mentally or physically or both. And please don't judge people. You know, if you have like a colleague or a friend or someone who's having a bad day, don't just assume it's for no reason. Like, if you are someone who also is my age and you don't really know what to do, because I feel like there's like a lot of forums and stuff, but a lot of people are like much older, know that you can live your life exactly how you want to. And if you're going out with your friends and you're really tired and you want to go home, go home. Don't let them tell you otherwise. If you're feeling like you don't want to drink alcohol because you know if you're really going to struggle the next day because of the effects it has on your body, then don't feel like you have to drink. Like, sometimes I go out and I know how I'm feeling, that it's not going to be a good decision for me. Sometimes if I go out with my friends, I need to have like a 4-hour nap in the afternoon before I can go out, because otherwise I won't make it past 10 o'clock without falling asleep. But it doesn't make me any less of a person, and it doesn't change who I am. So please don't judge me or feel sorry for me or treat me any differently. Just know that this is something I live with, and I've lived with it for, was that 16, like 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. I've lived with this for like 6 years, nearly 7 years, and you just need to if you have this illness, you'll learn what works for your body. And like I said, being vegan for me and eating healthily makes a big difference. If you ever need someone to talk to, you can message me, that is okay. And I also just want to say thank you to Nick from pixiwoo, because she made a video talking about having MS, and I think it's great that because she has such a huge following, that she's shared such an important message with her viewers and the world, and it kind of gave me the confidence and the inspiration to make this video. And I've been wanting to make this video for a long time, And I'll link her video down below, as well as other things where you can read about MS and different things. I know this video is like a big ramble, but yeah, just thank you for watching, and I will see you in my next video, which hopefully is a bit more of a happier subject. And just don't let things get you down. Just live your life to the full and enjoy it. And thank you for watching.